Every day, more and more companies are announcing a vaccine mandate for their employees. And if you work at one of those companies and you don't want to comply, there are a couple of options for you. You can find a new job, you can hide in the office bathroom until 2027, or you can follow the hot new trend, claiming a religious exemption.
A growing number of people are claiming religious reasons to dodge COVID vaccine mandates. In Washington, thousands of state workers are doing it.
419 D.C. fire and EMS employees are asking for a religious exemption. That's about 1 out of 5 of the department's employees.
One of the largest districts in the country, Montgomery County, their public school is now facing a lawsuit for not having a religious exemption.
This morning, at least 7 United Airlines employees filing lawsuits against the airline over its vaccine policy, saying their religious exemptions were denied.
The NBA denied the request of Golden State Warrior Andrew Wiggins to be exempt from vaccine requirements. The 26-year-old based the request on a religious exemption.
As the COVID-19 vaccine mandate deadline for City of Los Angeles employees looms, 2,600 LAPD officers said they will seek religious exemptions to refuse the vaccine.
That's right, 2,600 LA police officers are trying to get a religious exemption to avoid getting the shots. And black people heard this and they were like, hey, can we get an exemption too? We also have a deep belief in not getting shot. But this is where we're at right now. Countless people across America who have already been vaccinated, by the way, for a million other diseases, are now professing a very, let's say, convenient religious belief against taking the COVID vaccine. And you might be seeing this and thinking, damn, religious exemptions seem like a really bad idea. And maybe it's turned into that now. But it wasn't always this way. In fact, we'll look at how a good idea went so wrong in our brand new segment, Red, White, and Broken. For most of human history, religious freedom was not a thing. Most governments had a state religion, and if you didn't believe in it, you either prayed very quietly or you burned at the stake very loudly. But America's founders didn't want a country torn apart by religious conflict. So when they wrote the Constitution, they guaranteed freedom of religion in the First Amendment. That's why they put it at the top of the Constitution, because of how important they thought it was. And also because they knew nobody reads past page 2. Now, this was an incredibly progressive idea at the time. And today we think of it as one of the greatest ideas from that era. I mean, it's certainly much better than the idea that you shouldn't leave the house without 7 layers of clothing. It's summer. At least take off the wig, you freak. So part of that religious freedom meant that the government can't force you to do things that your religion forbids you from doing. For instance, if you're a devout Quaker, you don't have to fight in a war. If you're Amish, you don't have to send your kids to high school. If you're a Latter-day Saint, you don't have to come into work until later in the day. Well, that's not what it is? Yeah, but Steve told me that that's why he comes in at 3:30. God damn it, Steve! But when vaccines became widespread, it turned out some religious people had objections to those too. And that's when things started to get messy.
Not even really till the 20th century that we start to see people using religion as a basis for opposing a vaccine. And it doesn't really pick up steam until the 1950s and 60s.
It all takes root in the 1964 Civil Rights Act. The law essentially requires employers to make reasonable accommodations for employees who can't fulfill a job requirement due to religious beliefs. But the law doesn't give a lot of guidance when it comes to defining religion.
According to rules laid out by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, a religious belief does not have to be recognized by an organized religion, and it can be new, unusual, or seem illogical or unreasonable to others.
In 2012, a U.S. district court ruled that veganism was a sincerely held religious belief, which gave one employee a pass from a flu shot.
Yeah, you can laugh. But I can see how veganism could be considered a religion. I mean, think about it. They're super dedicated, they follow strict rules, and they think anyone who doesn't share their beliefs should go to hell. You know, in fact, now that I think about it, my vegan friends talk way more about being vegan than my Christian friends talk about Jesus. Like, I don't even know what church Dave goes to, but I know exactly what Mariah had for lunch. The point is, America got into a situation where it was giving exemptions for religious beliefs while being very open-minded about what a religious belief was. And look, There are good reasons why you don't want the government picking apart every religion like it's a cheating boyfriend on TikTok. You'd rather have the government say veganism is a religion than have the government say veganism isn't a religion, and also neither is Islam. Unfortunately, though, the flip side of being that tolerant is that people can take advantage of the system. You know, it's like how when airlines didn't define what an emotional support animal was, at first, you had genuinely traumatized people bringing their pets on the plane. But then before long, I was fighting an alligator for an armrest. Can you tell me again what this animal is helping you with? Because he's giving me anxiety, man. So, because the government chose not to nitpick what a religious belief could be, it didn't take long for the idea of religious exemptions to start showing cracks.
Because of vaccines, we were able to do something that is hardly ever done, which is to actually eliminate a disease. We eliminated measles in the United States in the year 2000. And all of a sudden, everything changed.
State of emergency that's been declared as the nation faces one of the worst measles outbreaks in decades.
In 2000, about 1% of Oregon kindergartners were not fully vaccinated for philosophical or religious reasons. Last year, it jumped to 7%, the highest rate in the country.
In Vermont, there was a 640% increase in kindergarten children with religious vaccine exemptions.
The fact that we have had so many cases in 2018 is really quite discouraging. This is a completely avoidable situation.
Oh man, poor Dr. Fauci. This guy has spent his whole career trying to convince people that dying from disease is bad. COVID, measles. I bet if you went back to the 14th century, there was a Dr. Fauci begging people not to get the Black Plague. People, please, don't have sex with those rats. This is a very avoidable situation. So, thanks to those religious exemptions, measles became the throwback fad that nobody asked for, which is not fair to everyone else, and it's definitely also not fair to measles. I mean, think about it. Measles has been retired all these years, and then suddenly it has to start working again, and all because kindergartners have philosophical objections to the vaccine. I mean, I'm pretty sure the only philosophy that a kindergartner has is, we should turn on Paw Patrol. I mean, think about how crazy it is that in America, you can send your kids to school with measles, right? But if they bring peanut butter with them, their little ass is getting thrown out in the snow. And it turns out that the same way Sarah Palin was just a trial run for Donald Trump, the measles anti-vaxxers were just a trial run for COVID. Because now, even more people are seeking religious exemptions from vaccines. And they're finding a lot of help from their fellow worshipers online.
We found websites that help people request exemptions. One urged include words like sacred, holy, worship, blessed, and others.
Thousands of Facebook users are actually teaching each other how to obtain religious exemptions from the vaccine.
These are folks who are swapping tips, who are showing each other how to evade filters.
On Instagram, the lead pastor of Destiny Christian Church issues an open invitation to anyone seeking religious exemption.
If you feel morally compromised by taking this vaccine, we have a form for you.
Numerous churches across the country are offering the same.
We found a self-described evangelist offering vaccine exemption letters to anyone who wants one. Curious, our producer emailed her. He's fully vaccinated already, by the way. She offered to write letters not just for him, but 3 family members once he PayPal'd her at least $25. $10 minimum donation for each additional family member after that. This woman says she's a Christian. Our producer is Jewish. No questions asked about religion or medicine or anything.
Wow, okay. That's not exactly the interreligious harmony that I've been hoping for. And as shocking as it may seem, I think it's pretty obvious that some religious leaders are going to try to keep people unvaccinated. I mean, after all, they make money from getting the letters, and then they make a ton of money from doing the funerals. But still, it doesn't take a genius to see how the great idea of religious freedoms has been corrupted. You know, the question used to be, do you have a sincere religious belief? And now it's, do you have a PayPal account? And the reason that people need to work so hard to cheat the system with fake religious beliefs is that basically every actual religion has told its followers to get thine ass vaccinated.
Faith organizations have come out to say the benefits of getting the vaccine far outweigh any ethical concerns about its development.
Jewish scholars say the Torah requires it. Muslim leaders endorse it too, leaving legitimate religious excuses to skip the shots far and few between.
Today's sermon, or khutbah in Islam, is Imam Qur'asam's fact check for the faithful.
This vaccine is absolutely halal.
The COVID-19 vaccines got a holy endorsement on Wednesday. Pope Francis told reporters that humanity has a history of friendship with vaccines and urged everyone to get their shots.
In India, the Dalai Lama getting his first coronavirus vaccine shot. The Tibetan spiritual leader urging his followers to do the same.
Have courage to take this injection.
Yeah, leaders of Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and Buddhism all agree that there's nothing in religion that stops people from getting the vaccine. Now we just need Beyonce to put out a statement, and then all religions are covered. But think about how crazy it is to have all the major religions saying there's no religious objection to the vaccine. These guys don't agree on anything. Hell, Buddhists believe that the middle seat of an airplane is one of the best. Free yourself from the desire for an aisle seat. The only window that matters is the window in your mind. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go to the bathroom. Excuse me, sorry, watch the road, please. Excuse me, can you get out of the way? So, that's how religious exemptions became red, white, and broken. A fantastic idea that was once the foundation for a society where people could pray the way they wish to pray has now warped into an excuse that people can use just to avoid the rules. I mean, the one upside is now I get to steal people's cars, I get to eat fish on a plane, cut in line everywhere I go, and even punch toddlers in the street. And if people say, hey, Trevor, stop being an asshole, I can say, yo, I'm not being an asshole. These are just my religious beliefs.